morning, good afternoon, good evening. Why are you obsessed with whether or not Chamisa received funds from Zanu PF? That kind of question, the line of argument, is at the heart of why we are a failed state. Zimbabwe had the opportunity to end the de facto one-party state dictatorship of Zanu PF. Many opportunities, the best of which was during the 2008 to 2013 GNU. If you understand the consequences of being a failed state, then of course you would be concerned, you'd be obsessed about finding out why are we a failed state. And more significantly, to end this case. I've said on this platform that by the late 1990s, the people of Zimbabwe realized that Zanu PF was a party of thugs determined to rig elections to stay in power. And as long as Zimbabwe remained a pariah state, the country was going nowhere. The choice then was either we take up arms and fight to remove Zanu PF from power, as we did with the white colonial regime before it, or we elect opposition leaders whose number one task would be that they implement democratic reforms to end the Zanu PF dictatorship. In other words, we achieve political change through democratic means. And I believe the nation made the right choice. Let's elect opposition leaders and task them to implement the necessary democratic changes to end the Zanu PF dictatorship. Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC friends stepped forward, offering to bring about those democratic changes. They even named their party the Movement for Democratic Change. That was in 1999. And now, 25 years down the line, we find ourselves still stuck with a corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical Zanu PF dictatorship that rigs elections to stay in power. Anyone with half a brain will be asking, why is it that the opposition that we elected 25 years ago failed to implement any meaningful reforms to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections? And that ability to make that sort of inquiry is important for a healthy and functioning democracy. We should have the common sense to say, no, this is not working. Why is it not working? That is what I'm talking about here. The last few days have seen the circulation on the social media of 3 video clips. Here is the first one of them.
Hatidi kutongwa neanoda, toda kutongwa neakajaira. Handiti ndizvozvo. Kutonga kunoda akajaira. Saka muchatukwa mugotukwa mugonzi maenda ikoko muri kutsvaga mari. Alright, tomboti ndizvo. Asiri kuitsvaga ndiani? Because ari kuti uya hurumende ngaibve. Ari kuti ngaibve tipinde isusu kuti uite sei uwane mari. Saka isusu tibude pamari kuti upinde pamari. Zvinobuda. Saka aiwa ndakaudza vana musuno wekuti musa poromiswe kuti hurumende ichauya ichakupfumisai. Muchiudzwa nemunhu akapfuma kare. Hakuna opposition leader anogara kumhiri kwaSamora kunoku. Vese vamunoona vari 27 vanokorera mapresident. Vese vane dzimba kupi? Uko. Vakaita sei mariyo. Hakuna opposition leader asina plus. Vakawana kupi maplus iwa. Asi chavanogona ndechekuudza mamemba kuti musatore maplus. Because kana ukatora plus uchazorima ukaguta, kana waguta usina hasha. Saka gara usina plus, uite hasha, utuke hurumende, uende unovhota, uende kudemonstration. Ndosaka iye munhu opposition aende kudemo, haadi kutemerwa mota yake nyowani. Haadi kutemwa nematombo because business rinozobroka.
That is an important point. The gentleman talking there is clearly a Zanu PF member. He's wearing the shirt with the head of Mnangagwa, a giveaway. But forget who he is. Listen to what he's saying. Is it true that the opposition leaders, once elected into positions of power and authority as members of parliament or senators and so forth, they've all moved from the high-density suburbs, where some of them were staying, to the low-density suburbs? Is it true that some of them have received trappings of high office from Zanu PF, such as cars, farms, and other cash that have enabled them to enrich themselves? Because if it is true, that would explain why the opposition has become ineffective. They've been on the political stage for 25 years and counting. And they failed to implement even one token reform. We cannot run away from that. That is at the heart of the problem here. This video clip was followed with a second one, which gave us a bit more information on the farms.
Basi rikafira musango. Munhu asina kwaari kuenda basi mumwe anofara kuti ndo patopumba pake nditori nevamwe vangu pano. Munhu anorwadziwa nekurara musango munhu ane kumba.
Chaibhadana kumba kwangu.
Bada mana kumba kugombeza rangu rere. Mana so. Bade munhu asina imba atete kurara musango. So opposition ino make sure kuti vanhu vaya vawane minda. But may he so rest in peace Tsvangirai. Praise ravo vanga vainaro. Chamisa anaro.
Anoredza ngichamisa. Ane family.
Kana azoramba. Ndoenda newe.
Rikupi?
Ane farm.
Ribi.
I know madresse munhu anetsa kuti focha, but anaro. Chakudza off camera.
Okay.
Ane mine. Ane mine.
Ane mine.
Ane makaseo.
Yeah?
Yes. Biti. Ane praza. Unomboona ere picture ya Biti achitenga mombe kuna Temba Mliswa. Sekisa kupraza. One of the biggest beef producers in the Matabeleland region, the Washman Ngwe.
Okay.
Yes, ane praza. Anautenga beneficiary land reform. But what they did is to discourage their people from acquiring my farms. Because why is out munaka on something chapiwa no urumenda achapikisa.
Are you for real, Mr. Kansha?
No mfunza Washman Ngwe uta asiri asikuita beef producer beef pa plus. Tonyenda nitsana upo chimono kurirere. Nditi
we cannot keep on discounting such stories. Because we also know that for 25 years, including the 5 years in the GNU, the opposition have failed to implement even one token reform. Worse still, after the GNU debacle, the MDC leaders have participated in these flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, knowing fully well that Zanu PF was rigging, and that participating will only give Zanu PF legitimacy. And yet they've soldiered on. Why? Even when they've been caught lying, they pretended that they were not lying. We cannot run away from the fact that the opposition in Zimbabwe has been totally ineffective. That is a political reality that we cannot and we must not run away from. Here is the third video clip in which the gentleman is telling us a bit more about Nelson Chamisa's farms.
Chamisa received a farm in Marondera. Well, everybody need land, isn't it? But don't you think it was too early for him to receive land from Zanu PF when millions of people, they were still hoping that he would be the next president? And even worse, his wife received another farm in Chegutu. And the Zanu PF government, they gave Yemad, the wife of Nelson Chamisa, and she's making a very, very successful chicken business. One family. So we used to say bad things about Zanu PF, that these guys are so bad. One man can take 21 farms, 40 farms. One man can take other white men's big businesses. One man can take one man can take all these mining businesses, the industry, the shops, the banks. They can even allot to the Reserve Bank and nothing happened to them. I did not know that our own champions, they were going to be shareholders, as far as to all the other members of opposition who are opposition members in parliament. They received big cash, big man. And it has become a tradition whereby opposition leaders, they work hand in hand with the Zanu PF, especially when it comes to abusing and misusing taxpayers' money.
That is a fundamental problem we have seen in Zimbabwe, and one we cannot afford to ignore. To keep on pretending that these things did not happen is naive. What we are being told here would explain those things. Why in 25 years on the political stage, the MDC CCC leaders have failed to implement even one token reform. Why, since the GNU debacle of 2008 to 2013, they have participated in flawed elections, and conned the ordinary people to participate, knowing fully well that participating was only going to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate the dictatorship and the people suffering. We cannot sweep these issues under the carpet. And people and leaders like Nelson Chamisa must come out. Yes, we know he is renowned for suddenly losing his voice. Whenever you ask him to account for anything, he is silent. Only next time you hear him is quoting biblical verses. We want leaders who are accountable to the people. We want leaders who own up when they've messed up. And to think that this was messing up is actually misrepresentation of the facts. This was just blatant corruption. Mugabe bribed them, the MDC leaders, with the trappings of high office, and they forgot about the reforms. Some of Mugabe's cronies even boasted about it. During the GNU, when they were asked, why are MDC leaders not implementing the democratic reforms? They came out and were boasting that mazwane MDC adzidzisa kusvika Nyerere. MDC leaders have learned to enjoy the benefits of the gravy train. They will not rock the boat. And now we are learning that the benefits of the gravy train extended beyond the E-Class Mercedes-Benz limos for all the deputy ministers, the two deputy prime ministers, and the prime minister himself. The generous salaries and allowances all round. The US $4 million mansion for Tsvangirai. These benefits went beyond that. And the MDC leaders have been very silent about it. And according to these gentlemen, they've even been discouraging their members from taking up any of those farms and some of those benefits from Zanu PF, because they wanted to deliberately keep them poor. So that they can continue to grumble against the regime. And then they can step in as the champions who are going to end the people's suffering, where in reality they were now working with Zanu PF to maintain the status quo. This is unacceptable. And as a people, we have to deal with these problems. The idea of pretending that this problem does not exist is just not on. These problems were real, and now we must deal with them. And for Chamisa and his fellow MDC leaders, this issue is not going away. It's high time you came out in the open and tell the nation what you did, how much you were paid to cooperate with Zanu PF all these years. Because now the truth is coming out. I don't think this is the end of it. We are only going to hear more and more of it. And the questions will not be swept under the carpet. And this time, you will not get away with silence. All those in public office must be accountable to the people. And you are accountable to the people. Mark my word.